Hello everybody. Today I'm going to show you my latest update of CrochetPARADE. I included a new tool which allows one to find the periphery of a project or the border of a project, where a lot of decorative work can happen or a finishing of a project can happen, and one can use the edge to attach, let's say, granny squares to make a blanket, for example. Now, why do we need a separate tool? Because often when we crochet, the sequence in which we crochet doesn't necessarily match the sequence in which stitches go around the periphery of a project. So for example, for this baby booty, the cuff here at the top is actually crocheted in rows. So the top, which is the periphery or the border, is doesn't represent sequential stitches in the order in which they have been crocheted. So I'm gonna again call the baby booty example from here and generate it. Let's say I want to finish the project by doing a single crochet at the top. So I would call the tool find project periphery. There are a bunch of options here which I'm not really going to talk about much, maybe just briefly. You can always open the manual where they're described in more detail. You can run it, and after a while you get the periphery tool finds the periphery at the top. Now you can apply a label to the stitches, so they can be labeled, and once they're labeled you can crochet into them. Now let's label them with some meaningful label. Let's say edge. Just use the default values, and here it says that the stitch order will be saved as something like something called a sort label. So sort label and index array, these are two new features of the language. The language remains backwards compatible. They're just two new additions which again are expanded in the manual, and I'm gonna briefly talk about them here. So I'm gonna press OK, and we're gonna get a warning. So it says that we need to expand the instructions first. So let's do that. We need to go to Tools, Expand Instructions, and select Run this dialog twice in a row. Alright, so let's do that. So here it is, Expand Instructions, and yep, run this dialog twice in a row. We're going to hit 2 here to answer the question, and here they are. The instructions are expanded, and you can see all these highlighted stitches in the three-dimensional model are also expanded here. And I'll just control click on this chain here in yellow, which will change color, and the same color will be changed over here in the stitches. So you can see, oh, there it is. So this is the stitch. Let's go over here. The stitch that starts here ends here at the corner, and you can see it better if I remove the periphery highlight. That's not fun. So let's rerun this. There you go. Control click. There you go. So you can see this is the stitch right here. Okay, this is the head of the chain, which turns around. So it's chain, turn around, yada yada. Alright, so anyway, without further ado, let's apply the label, and you're gonna see each of these stitches that are highlighted in yellow are gonna get their own label. Alright, so okay, there you go, done, and there you go. Now what I can do, by the way, check out that this label is there is this sequence, this array that's created. This sequence of numbers tells you where consecutive stitches attached to the labeled group with the label edge, in what order you need to work into that sequence of stitches. So I forgot to check how many stitches were labeled. So there were 37 stitches that were labeled. Okay, so I can do on the next line 37 single crochets at edge. Bam. And you can see suddenly we got a single crochet border. Now I can slip stitch to the beginning. I can do something like slip stitch to the beginning of this round to close it, and we can do more fiddling here, but anyway, this is how you might add an edging. Okay, now a couple of things. We're going to talk about sort label in a bit. Now let's talk about these instructions. Right now they look like a mess. Can we simplify them? Yes, you go to Tools, Simplify Instructions, you hit, you change this answer. I would expand before simplification, and bam, we have a more simplified code, somewhat similar to before, except again, now we keep the edge label everywhere. You can simplify this further by hand if you want. You can remove some of these square brackets. They're not always necessary. They're there as a precaution. Anyway, this is the booty again with the edge on top. Now let's do something simpler and see how this works. So this is the forum announcement for the edge work made simple, which talks a little bit about index array and sort label, and so you can read it if you want to spend the time. I'm going to start with this example here, which is just a single crochet swatch. Okay, here it is. I'm just going to show the stitches one by one, so you can see you start with a chain, then you do single crochet, turn, single crochet, turn. There are chains in the beginning of each row. Anyway, we get this grid. Okay, let's find the periphery. Zoop. There's the periphery there. Fantastic. Now I want to see the stitches in the instructions. Oops. So I'm going to expand them for run this dialog twice. Ta-da. Here they are, and you can see this makes sense. It's even visually clear that the periphery is the stitches around the edge. Now the problem again is that the order in which we crochet doesn't match the order in which the stitches appear in the periphery. So let's see. This is the 0 stitch, great. This is the first stitch. I hope you can see the tooltip near the mouse. This is second, third, fourth, fifth, and then we go to the 12th, and then we turn the project, and then this is the 7th stitch. The skip is counted as 6, so don't worry about it. It is the next stitch crocheted, but then if you go down the border, then it's stitch 14, and then it's 21, and then it's 28, and then 29 sequentially to here, 33. And again, I may have gotten confused by the turns, but that's not really the important part. The important part is that the stitches that go around the edge are not sequential in order, and actually it will be easier to see them here. So let me just rerun this so that we can get the highlight. Okay, so this is again stitch 28. Where do I see this? I see it right here. And then this is stitch 26, 14, 12, 0, and so on and so on. So let's say you apply the same label to everybody. So I'm going to keep the label edge. You can call it anything. Let's call it A this time. Hit OK. There it is. Now without sort label, so I'm going to comment this out. So this is just the old-fashioned label that we've always used, or at least the tool has always used. Let me just consult here. We have 18 labels added, so I'm going to do 18 single crochets at A, and we're going to get an error here. You cannot use the same label over non-adjacent stitches. They're not adjacent because, again, they're hopping back and forth around the project. So here now we have a labels defined but never used. Okay, so we get more warnings this time from CrochetPARADE, and you're going to see these warnings for some of the examples as well in here. But they're just telling you that you didn't use a label. We didn't use a label A. That didn't break the project. All right. So anyway, we need to order these stitches in a particular order. So again, sort label says whatever you work in the group, let's say the first of these 18 single crochets, you need to label it. You need to work it in the 17th stitch labeled with A. So the 17th stitch, counting from 0, that's stitch 18. Remember, there were 18 stitches total, so that is the last stitch labeled with A. Then work in the 16th stitch, so we're working backwards here. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. 11, I'm assuming, is this guy. And then we go to the 8th stitch, and then the 7th, and now we jump around back and forth between the border, between the two edges of the border, and then in the end we go with the chain here. So now this should work. And it's not pretty because single crochet, actually, let me just show it like this. We need to add extra stitches at the corners, which we could, you know, we didn't connect with the first stitch in the round, so we could do that. All right, so it looks a little bit like some kind of a basket here. But again, if you added, let's say, an increase of 3 stitches here, that should work. Okay, so that's how you, that's why we need sort label, to sort the stitches in the order, in the adjacency order in which they appear here. All right, how about the other options? I'm actually gonna undo here. By the way, the undo button works much better than before. It remembers a lot more history than it used to. Okay, so expand instructions, we did that. Oops, we don't need to do that yet. Find periphery of the project. Let's run it again. Oops, I forgot to run the project. Rerun, there you go. Okay, what are the other options? Well, you can use a counter label. Now, here, so far, as you can see, these stitches are sequential. There is just a single run of adjacent stitches, you're done. So you could use a simple label like that, because simple labels are constrained to label groups that are single runs of adjacent stitches. If your border is more complicated, we don't get a single run of adjacent stitches, then you have to use indexed labels, because then each indexed label is separate. So let's say we label it with A of K, and now the default option is to save counter values as index array. Actually, well, let's do that and let's see what we get. No, never mind. You can add a K++. In this case, it will evaluate the counter and it will label each of these stitches with a label with a counter. So let's do that and let's see what it looks like. There you go. And here you can see the labels again are going all over the place. And the reason they're going, well, we haven't used them, yes. The reason they're going all over the place is, again, they're sequential in the order in which they're going around the periphery, but they're not sequential in the order in which they're crocheted. So let's let me demonstrate that to you by just hovering over the stitches. So I don't know if you notice, this is label 0 here. Just look at the last line, the label right after the stitch in red. This one is label 1, label 2, label 3, label 4, label 5, and then we turn here, label 6, label 7, okay, label 8, and so we go around the corner in sequential order. All right, so how do we use this label here? So this is what we can do. We can initiate a counter, and we can single crochet, I think they were 18, right, 18 stitches at a K++. Now if I hit this, hit enter, all 18 stitches will end up in attached to A0. Let me show you. Here they are, all 18 of them. The reason is, if you don't put in the multiplication sign, this is well documented in the manual, the code assumes that you have parentheses around here. So first you multiply the stitch and then you add the label. So the same label A0 is applied to all of them. Now if you want the parentheses to be around here like that, you either add them explicitly or you just type in multiplication. And here they are. Now the labels are expanded correctly. So this in this case we have single crochet at K++ done 18 times. So every time K++ increases the index K, and here we are. We have the same sequence of stitches. Now, what is can we leave it like that? Of course. The problem is if you hit simplify instructions, because of these indices being baked in, the instructions don't really simplify much. They simplify a little bit better if we select this option to create some kind of a running variable keeping track of the index. Okay, but it's still pretty ugly. So instead of doing that, and I'm gonna back. Oh boy. There. try it again. Rerun. There you go. An index array, which does the same as what we did earlier, except now the key values are drawn from this array here of indices. So this is a 9, this is a 10. Okay, so it's exactly the same as before, so we could do the same thing as 18 times single crochet at a k plus plus. And by the way, we'll get an error because this clashes with index array, but let's see how that works out. K equals 0, we forgot to initialize it. Bam, index array name conflicts with the variable defined there. All right, so let's do k whatever I. Okay, there you go, same answer. All right, and again, this time, because the label is the same, we can simplify the instructions quite a bit. And bam, it's much more compact. And once again, if you just want to use a plain label, when it is a single run of stitches, of adjacent stitches, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do this. Find project periphery, run it. Oops, I forgot to calculate the model. Calculate the model, run it. There you go. Here it is, sort label. You can reverse the order. Okay, there it is, and let's just simplify this to see that it will be pretty simple in the end in terms of instructions. There you go. Okay, so again, you have different options of labeling the edge, but it's up to you which one you use. Now, a couple of things here. Let's see. Actually, I want to show you a couple of it. Oh, before we go into more complicated problems or more complicated examples, I do want to do the following. So going back to here, you may want to, let's say you want to label just this edge over here. Okay, so you can edit the edges. It immediately gives you the edges around the periphery from starting node, let's say this one, 4432, to this one over here, 4533, and you don't need to do much writing by hand, because this is what you can do. You can hover over a stitch, press Alt, the Alt button on the keyboard, and click on it, and it immediately gets selected. When it gets selected, you can hit backspace, and bam, it's no longer part of the project or the periphery. Then you can do the next one here, and in fact you can delete a bunch of these. Oh, delete too much, so Control Z to undo that. I'm gonna delete these. Okay, what else can I do here? Maybe I can delete some more. How about I delete all these? Oh, too many. Okay, this is good so far. Let's see if I delete these ones here. Oh, one too much, one too many. Bam. Okay, so now for these edges, I can say this is a custom periphery, which immediately gets added to the list of peripheries here. You can delete these with the trash button. I can say this is my right edge. Okay, and label it. Bam. Did I not expand them? Oh, it doesn't detect it as expanded because I've ran it so many times with the undo button. So let's do that again. Okay, let's try it again. Right edge. There you go. We have the right edge. All right, so next we're gonna do the left edge. So I'm gonna select periphery 1 again, edit it. Let's see where this is. Okay, so it's over there. Oops, too many. Let's see if this works. Yep, this is good. And I'm gonna see if these ones, deleting these ones makes sense. Oh, too many. Delete it. So up to here. Oops. Oh, there you go. All right, so I'm gonna save this one. So now we have custom periphery 2. Now I'm gonna call this, let's say, left edge. Okay, and I'll be done. And you can label the same, the other ones as well. All right, so let's see. What you can do now is, let's say you do single crochet or start a new and then we have, let's say, 4 single crochets at the right edge, and something like this. Okay. Or you can even attach. I apologize. All right, so you can play with this as much as you want. Okay, and you can remove the initial one by using the proper stitch. But right now, honestly, I want to move on to. Anyway, you can do different edges at the different edgings on the different parts. All right, moving on. I want to show you a baby blanket here. This one has quite a bit more complicated connections. Okay, so this is the way it's crocheted. It's in rows, but each row is a little bit more contrived, especially at the edging. You have chains, and then you have double crochets and all kinds of stuff. Okay, let's see if the two work this time. And of course I've tested it, so it should, hopefully. Let's get rid of this stuff here. All right, rerun. It's a little bit slower. Oh, we have the custom peripheries. Let me delete the custom peripheries here. There you go. This is the edge. Again, you can apply stitches after expanding the instructions. Then you can simplify the instructions. Again, that's the workflow. And you get baby blanket with single crochet edge. This is saved as a new example so that you can refer to it and see how that works. And after you finish calculating, you can see, oh, there is the edging. This is the single crocheted edging here. And there you go. So this is one usage of the periphery tool. I also included another example, which is the granny square stitching. So in this case, we have 4 granny squares. Each one is colored in different colors, which I stitched with these stitches here: blue, white, green, light green, and so on. And the way I do it is for each of them, for each of these granny squares, I detected the periphery, I labeled it, and after I labeled it, I'm just showing you how they have been crocheted. So anyway, after I label them with an index array in this case, so this is one of them, the granny squares with an index array, I labeled the edge. So this is the orange fella. Note that I added 0, 0 as placeholders for the orange granny square, and S00 is the index array for that granny square. Then for the green panel here, this one, I'm using 0, 1, so here it is, E01 with the leading 0, 1 corresponds to the edging of that one, and so on and so on. We have the red, the yellow, and then I did some sewing together. And sewing, because it's not necessarily crocheting, or at least it's not as natural as crocheting. It's a little bit more contrived to do it in CrochetPARADE, but it's perfectly doable. So you need to define 2 stitches, and this is the white yarn that's crocheting the orange and the green squares, and here it is. The 0, 0, remember, is I already forgot which one it was. The orange square, and the 0, 1, the E01 is the green square. So here they are. They've been sewn together, and you do the same thing for the orange and the red, and the green and the yellow, and the yellow and the red. Now imagine you want an edging around the whole thing. Then this is what you do. You would expand the instructions. Now the only annoying thing is the expansion will take all these comments and put them at the top, and all these definitions. Because expansion and simplification doesn't necessarily, it's trying to expand and simplify things across multiple lines. So you don't want these comments to be garbled with the instructions. That's why the code extracts them, puts them at the top. So if you wanted your instructions to be neatly separated the way they are, you might need to do some reformatting after that. But anyway, for now, we're just gonna go blindly with this. Here they are. The instructions are expanded. find periphery, run it, it will find the periphery. Great. Now let's label them. I'm gonna label this with outer edge. Okay. So we have 88 labels that have been added. Fantastic. And again, they're not in sequential order. They're going all over the place in terms of stitches. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 88 single crochets at outer edge. And there they are. This is the outer edge. And now again, you can identify where the corners are and add increases there. You can fix this border here, the attachment, anyway, here we are. We have the border. Now, how about finding periphery of lacy things? Okay, so here is the lacy hat, which I have run beforehand. So let's find the periphery. Let's see what the periphery finder finds. Okay, so because laces have holes, the periphery finder can get a little bit confused, as you can see. By the way, the periphery finder only cares about how stitches are connected, which stitch is connected to which. It doesn't care about how long the yarn is between them. It doesn't care about whether the model has been calculated in 3D or in 2D. There is no reference to some kind of an embedding, to use the appropriate jargon here. So it's purely based on the graph of the stitch connections. So there are a lot of hidden notes here in order to handle the stitching in the chain spaces, which is why the periphery tool can get a little bit confused here. So you can always edit the edges, edit this edge, and get rid of these extras here. Okay, and you may want to make it thinner, or you may want to hit escape to show the original colors, or rather the colors, the more technical colors here. But anyway, I'm going to move on to show you the next periphery that's been detected. Okay, so it's this fella here. And again, if you don't like it completely, you can always edit it. Then we have periphery 3, periphery 4, periphery 5. Oh, periphery 5 is the one I care about, let's say. Now this one is easy because this is crocheting in the round, so they're just sequential stitches. So you don't even need the periphery tool here. Okay, so how about this one? This is a stocking. Find the periphery. Let's run it. Oh, it's taking a while. Okay, so it found the periphery. Great. Did it find any other peripheries? Oh yeah, it found this as a periphery, or possible periphery. Okay, this is the base of the cuff, which is not bad that it was detected. There are a lot of single stitches here and there that have been identified as possible periphery stitches, and they have to do with these bubbles here, which you know, it's not too surprising that it may find some of them. Sorry guys. Alright, how about this hat? Again, here the periphery is trivial, it's just the latest round. Let's see if the tool can find it correctly. Maybe one day. Okay, this will take a while. So let's move on to other. Oh yeah, it is taking a while. Well, the good thing is you can stop the calculation. This one can take, again, quite a bit. All right, two more things. Let's go into the details of the different properties here. All right, so I'm going to run the periphery tool for the swatch, and suddenly you can see the top is not connected. Now let's see why. The reason the top is not connected is because we have these fluffy edging here because of the DC5 popcorn, all right? Popcorn of 5 double crochets. And by the way, this is rendered in 2D. Let me do it in 3D so you can see it better. And rerun this guy. All right, so yeah, this is fluffy. So again, just from the connections, this fluffiness, hopefully you can see why the code can get confused. But maybe you see, maybe not. There are other edges that have been connected, or rather other periphery pieces that have been connected. And there are these pieces here. So the code almost perfectly matches the periphery, except it skips over these fluffs. Here, where the advanced settings can help, you can add max hops. So you can connect these disjoint edges through several hops through the rest of the stitches. So you can add something like maybe 5 hops, let's see, and you can include the bridge edges or the hop edges to the periphery. You can create other subgraphs, other periphery options. All right, let's run it. Again, you can read the manual about them, and bam, the periphery is detected. And all these 3 in this case are the same. These extras come from checking these other 2 boxes. Okay, great. So the periphery worked here. Swatch 2 is a little bit more complicated. Let's see if the hat, oh, the hat worked. Fantastic, there it is. All right, I'm gonna close this. All right, for this swatch, we have this, this cross stitching here, which I promise you the periphery tool will get confused because for this edging here, it seems like this connection through this loop is the same as that connection through that loop. And the periphery tool sort of looks at these loops and says, okay, if there is an edge, how many simple loops are attached to it? And you can see there is this small simple loop, so it says, okay, so this edge is actually part of the periphery, whereas this edge has 2 small loops attached to it, so it's not part of the periphery. For this one, it won't detect it as a periphery because there are 2 loops that are identical, 2 small loops that are identical. But without further ado, I could go through the math, but really we don't have to, unless you're a mathy person and you want to talk, but that's a different story. All right, let's see what this guy detects here. Okay, so the periphery tool now detects this part as one part of the periphery. Then we have the bottom, which is correctly identified, and then we have these disjoint pieces here on the edges, and then funnily enough some pieces here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach all of them by, I don't know, maybe doing 4 hops. Let's see what that gives us. Will that be enough? Will it take too long? Oh, okay. All right, it's not fully connected yet, so I'm gonna allow more hops through the graph, through the stitches. Okay, so it seems like things are more or less connected now. I can't really see it well, but oh, because I didn't include the bridges on the output. All right, so let's run that. And okay, there you go. Now, as you can see, this is not a single run of stitches because here we have different paths. So you can simplify it by including longest cycle subgraph or include the breaking cycle subgraphs. All right, let's wait for it. Ta-da! Okay, so this is one of them. Okay, so it goes through one of the options, and it's a little bit at random which path is selected. This is the other option. So again, it's not perfect. The way these stitches are connected, the graph is pretty complicated towards the edges here. So again, you can just edit them. All right. So what you can do is you can alt-click on this edge, and it automatically gets added to the list of edges. Then I'm gonna alt-click on this one, and then I'm going to alt-click on this one and just click backspace or get rid of it. Alt-click, backspace, and so on, all the rest. So you can, again, you can fix the periphery the way you like it with this editor, and then save that as a custom periphery. Apologies. All right, let's see if this can close the editor and be done with it. Okay. All right, so I hope this made sense. Again, the announcement is here, and if you use this tool for anything exciting, feel free to share it. I'm really excited to see what people use their projects, the CrochetPARADE for, how they use it for their projects. Happy crocheting, everybody. Take care.